At least 222 people were snatched by Palestinian militants on the 7th of October, part of the deadliest attack in Israel's history. So what has happened to the hostages taken by Hamas? Distraught families are desperate for any information about their missing loved ones. By verifying footage shared on social media, analysing satellite images, and discovering clues in the videos themselves, we've tried to piece together the movements of some of those taken and pinpoint their last known locations. And we'll look at Hamas's network of tunnels, whether the hostages can be freed, and how they will shape the course of this war. This is Shani Louk. She's a 22-year-old tattoo artist from Germany. She was taken by Hamas, which the UK government lists as a terrorist organisation, from the Supernova Festival on the morning of Saturday the 7th of October. Shani's family recognised her in this video posted online from her distinctive leg tattoo. We've blurred the image because it's very upsetting. There are clues in the footage that indicate where it was taken. We managed to locate this supermarket on the corner of Al-Ada Road in northern Gaza, and we can see these billboards from satellite images of the same spot. So it looks like Shani was taken over the border into Gaza City, and in this footage she's travelling north. What happened next isn't clear. Her mother said she's hopeful she's alive.
Wir haben jetzt weitere Informationen, dass Shani am Leben ist, aber eine schwere Kopfverletzung hat und kritische Situation ist.
Shani is one of the many civilians taken hostage by Palestinian fighters. Hamas also targeted members of the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, with footage here showing them taking female hostages. Hamas labels this footage Kfar Aza military base. Kfar Aza is a kibbutz, a small civilian community close to the border with Gaza, where dozens of people were massacred by Hamas on the 7th of October. But despite Hamas's labelling, our analysis suggests this video was actually filmed at the Nahal Oz military site, a couple of miles from Kfar Aza. Here's why. Satellite images show this distinctive semicircle structure, and the shadow of a tower here at the Nahal Oz base. We see both of those clearly in this separate Hamas footage of the attack, filmed from a drone, and this one they labelled as Nahal Oz. In another shot from the same footage, we see the base of the tower, an array of concrete blocks in front of it, and what look like yellow boards. Now let's go back to the footage of the female IDF soldiers being taken. We can see the tower, those concrete blocks, and the yellow boards, this time from ground level. One of the IDF soldiers believed to have been taken from the military base is 19-year-old Karina Ariev. She was called up last year as part of Israel's mandatory military service. Karina's family recognised her in this Hamas video. She's the woman nearest the camera. They showed it to Israeli authorities, who later confirmed that Karina had been taken. Let's pause the video here. We can see the first part of a licence plate. It seems to match the style used by Israeli military vehicles, white characters on a black background. We've seen this in another video too. An unnamed female hostage is taken from the boot of a vehicle and shoved into the passenger seat. We're blurring this, but her hands are bound and she has blood on her trousers. The licence plate here also matches Israeli military style. So who is this woman? The number plate is different to the vehicle carrying Karina Ariev. That one began with a 7, whereas this one begins with a 5. And the vehicles themselves look different. And the women in this video with Karina are wearing different clothes. So we don't think the bloodstained woman is Karina or the other women pictured here. But we think this woman could be in the footage we showed you earlier from the Nahal Oz base. Both have blood on their trousers, have their left hand bound on top of their right hand with a zip tie, are wearing their hair down, and are in a black t-shirt with grey sweatpants. If she is the same woman, she was taken from Nahal Oz in Israel into Gaza City. But for now, we just don't know for sure. Using local landmarks like this roof and this minaret, a researcher at the Centre for Information Resilience has confirmed that this video was taken here, just over 2.5 miles from the Nahal Oz base. What we've just shown you here is an example of what many families are doing in Israel and around the world right now, frantically searching social media for any scrap of information about those who've been taken. So why is it so hard to track down the hostages? A big problem is that, according to Hamas, some of them are underground. This is an Israeli map of the so-called Gaza Metro. According to the IDF, Hamas spends $500,000 building just 1 kilometre of each tunnel. Hamas has used them to smuggle food, medicine and weapons into Gaza from Egypt, bypassing Israel's blockade. And these tunnels will be a huge part of how Israel fights this war.
What Hamas has done since they took control almost 20 years ago of the Gaza Strip is basically to build a network of tunnels. Really think of the Gaza Strip as one layer for the civilians and then another layer for Hamas. And what we're doing now is that we are trying to get to that second layer.
So what does this mean for the hostages? Will Israel hold back its firepower to save its own citizens trapped in Gaza? The Hamas-run health ministry says over 5,000 Palestinians have already been killed by Israel's bombardment. Gershon Baskin is a hostage negotiator who's worked on the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts for years. He told Channel 4 News he's been speaking to Hamas.
We're talking about a limited deal. There are about 43 Palestinian women prisoners and about 170 minors in Israeli prison. It could be possible to do an exchange for the women, children, elderly, and sick for those prisoners. My assessment is, not knowledge, my assessment is that the government, the military, and the majority of the people of Israel are willing to sacrifice, the hostages if the job gets done. They're willing to, it's horrible to think about it, but they're willing to pay that extra price if the job gets done.
2 weeks after they were taken, Israel says it believes the majority of hostages are still alive.
המיקוד שלנו הוא להביא להשבת אנשינו. זו המשימה החשובה ביותר.
So far, 4 hostages have been released, American mother and daughter Judith and Natalie Raanan. And a few days later, 79-year-old Nurit Cooper and 85-year-old Yocheved Lifshitz. But their husbands are still being held by Hamas.
My mom is saying that she was taken on the back of a motorbike. There are a huge network of tunnels underneath. It looks like a spider web.
For hundreds more families, the agonizing wait continues.